Hi guys, my name is Dimitar, and I'm an addict. In fact, so are you. Now I bet this is not something you expected to hear at a SaaS sales conference, but it's true. Now, just before we go any further, I'd like to clarify, I do not have a substance abuse problem, and I sincerely hope you don't either. But what we salespeople all share in common is a severe addiction to hopium. What is hopium? Hopium is grabbing onto an opportunity, a bad opportunity, and holding onto it from weeks, sometimes months on end, hoping that sometime in the future a miracle will happen and that opportunity will end up being close won. Hands up if you've done this. Don't be shy, we've all done it. We've all done it, and I'll tell you why. So 2 things I want to do in the next 7 minutes. Number 1, tell you a little bit more about how your brain works so we can all understand why we have this addiction to hopium. And number 2, give you a practical framework which would actually allow you to diagnose that problem in your sales team and perhaps give you the severity of the problem. Okay. So first things first, why do we have an addiction to hopium? The reason why is because of a psychological bias known as the endowment effect. And what the endowment effect does is it severely inflates the value of any object or product that we hold to us purely because it's our own. So put simply, if I own something, I would irrationally place a lot more value on it purely because it's my own. It doesn't matter if someone else is holding the same object. And just to kind of illustrate this point, I want to tell you about perhaps what is the most famous study which has tried to quantify the impact of the endowment effect on decision making. A large group of university students were divided into 2, buyers and sellers, and the scientists who were conducting the studies endowed part of the room, the sellers, with coffee mugs. They then asked them to trade. And the results came in, and they were quite fascinating. What they saw was that the sellers were looking, on average, for a price of $7.12, while the buyers were only looking to spend $2.87, which is a difference of 2.5 times, which is quite significant. So now I can see you thinking, okay, well, how is this affecting my sales performance? Is this actually affecting my sales performance? We actually wanted to find out the answer ourselves. So what we did, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. So we looked at the deal flow for some 105 different sales teams, various ticket sizes, and we wanted to see how the average time to lose a deal compares to the average time to win a deal. Most of you probably know it takes a lot longer to come to terms with a deal being lost and declaring close lost in your CRM. But we actually wanted to dig a little bit deeper and see what the magnitude of this problem was. So what we did is we looked at the median time to close lost versus the median time to close won. And guess what? Lo and behold, the difference was 2.7 times, very much like the study just quoted and all the other studies that have tried to quantify the impact of the endowment effect on decision making. So what do you do about it? Well, the first thing you should do about it is to actually be able to measure it. And in order for you to do that, you need to track one metric, which I'm pretty sure none of you are tracking. How many of you know the duration of your sales cycle? Hands up. Really? Not everyone? Okay. So I thought that everyone would know roughly what the duration of their cycle is. The one thing that you really need to know, though, in order for you to understand the impact of the endowment effect is how long it takes you to actually lose a deal. And the reason why you want to do this is so you can basically calculate what we call your endowment multiplier, which is a proxy of how blinded you are by this endowment effect, right? So what you do is you start tracking your average time to lose, and then you use that to calculate the endowment multiplier. The way you do it is pretty straightforward. You divide your average time to lose by your average time to win, and voila, you've got your endowment multiplier. The way you read it is basically you don't want to end up with an endowment multiplier larger than 2.7. Anything beyond that signals that your sales team or yourself, depending on what you're doing, company-wide, are holding on to deals that are statistically very, very unlikely to close. The next thing that you can do with this is to basically start using it to diagnose problems in your pipeline. Vernon spoke a little bit about this, so this is another take on it, more behavioral science. So what you want to do with this one is look at any opportunity which has been live for longer than 2.7 times the length of your sales cycle, maybe 2.5, depending on how aggressive you want to be with it. Maybe even 2 times. And anything which has been live for longer than that period, you should deem clinically dead. And what I mean by clinically dead, we conducted a very large study at the beginning of the year where we looked at deals that were pronounced clinically dead in January this year, and we tracked them for the next 4 months. So it was about 60,000 odd deals. 12,000 of them were dead, so we pronounced them in January. So basically, we tracked them and wanted to see what happens with them in the course of the next following month. Any guesses? A very small proportion, only 2.2% of them actually ended up being successfully closed-won after being declared dead using that methodology. But a whopping 90% ended up being open opportunities in your pipeline and just as dead as they were in January. So what we do as salespeople is we basically carry tons of dead weight in our pipeline, which distracts us, consumes a lot of cognitive energy, and ultimately doesn't earn us any commission or any money. So what should you do with this? Just to kind of recap. Number one, start tracking your average time to lose so you can actually figure out the endowment multiplier. Use that to diagnose the severity of the problem, should you have one. Number three, as I said, don't commit any deal which is deemed clinically dead. Do not include it in your sales forecast because the chances, as we said, of that deal closing are less than 3%. You don't want to be doing that. Better yet, drop it and focus your efforts on something that can actually close. That's it for me. I think I've got a minute left, so I'm kind of racing ahead of time. If this data speaks to you, you can check this free tool that we've built. It only works, unfortunately, for people who are on Salesforce.com, but one click, and that would actually give you a diagnosis of your pipeline, number of dead deals, what the opportunities are, etc. So if you want to actually start taking proactive steps at getting better at this, the domain is heresy.io/diagnose, and that's the endowment effect for you. Thanks very much, and hopefully we can all beat Hopium.